Hi, I'm Shelley Wood and this is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make a basic sundress. This tutorial is for beginners and the dress will fit 10-inch fashion dolls like Petite Barbie, Skipper, and similar sized dolls. Before we begin, please go to shelleywood.com to download and print this free PDF sewing pattern. You'll want to cut your skirt on the fold, which means line the arrows up with the folded edge of the fabric. Now, when you open the skirt, it will be 2 times as long as the pattern. You'll cut the bodice out of felt, so that's easy enough, while the skirt will be cut from cotton fabric. The side-by-side lines cut in the bodice are called darts, and you'll want to pinch these together like you see me doing here, and then sew along the edge of the cut line. Do this for each cut in the bodice. So here's how it looks after sewing just one of the 2 darts, and then you pinch the other one together and sew along the second dart, which you can see my stitches here in purple. Now your bodice will look like this on the inside and it will look like this on the outside. We call this the right side. Set the bodice aside and let's work with the skirt for a little bit. Along the longest side of the skirt's fabric, create a hem by folding the edge of the fabric once and then a second time. Stitch along this folded edge of the fabric. Here's a closer look at my stitches. Now on the other longest side of the fabric, create a running stitch that you'll use to gather the fabric at the waist. Now if you need help with the running stitch, it's also called a straight stitch, or if you're not sure what gather means, you can find a gather tutorial video in the links below this video on YouTube. Mostly you need to remember to leave an ungathered edge on both sides of the gathering, and don't tie your needle and thread in a knot until you've matched the bodice's waist length to the length of the gathered material of the skirt. Slide the bodice under the skirt, keeping the finished side of both pieces together. Now there's about a 3/4 inch of fabric sticking out. Pin the skirt to the bodice with straight pins. You may need to stretch out the gathered area to make sure so it fits the skirt right with that 3/4 of an inch of ungathered fabric on each side of the bodice. Once the skirt fits the bodice with that overhanging 3/4 of an inch, you can tie a knot in your gather thread. At this point, you need to remove all the straight pins for just a little bit. Stretch out the gathers so that they're even. You really don't want it to all be bunchy at one end, so you have to even out those gathers. You may see some loose threads at this stage, and that's okay. Now, repin the skirt to the bodice again, and this time with your gathers even, making sure that the finished sides are together again. And once again, keep that extra bit of ungathered fabric sticking out from the bodice on both sides. Sew the bodice to the skirt. I recommend a backstitch for this step. Now, if you're not familiar with the backstitch, again, look for a tutorial below this video on YouTube. Once you have sewn these together, then you tie a knot. Flip the bodice up like this, It's normal for it to look a little wrinkled, so don't freak out when you see that it's kind of wrinkly. Remember those overhanging sides? Fold that side in once and then a second time, and we're going to create a little hem. Whip stitch along this edge, sealing it shut for about 2 inches. Again, you'll see my whip stitch tutorial under the video on YouTube. Now do the same with the other side, about 2–2.5 inches. We're not quite done, but we're getting close as we finish that closure. Now place the dress on your doll inside out. I'm using a straight pin to hold it in place. I'll be using a 1/4 inch bias tape for my straps, but you could use ribbon instead. Pin one end of the bias tape or ribbon to the bodice, just above the position of one of the darts. Wrap the strap around to the back of the doll. Make sure you'll have enough to sew onto the back, and then you're free to cut the bias tape. Follow the same directions to cut a second strap. So now you have 2 straps completed. You're going to pin both straps in place with straight pins, again right where the darts are. Pin them in front and then again in the back. Sew them to the bodice, and then continue to whip stitch along the open side of the bias tape, following that bias tape around to the front. Stitch the bias tape to the front and remove your straight pins. Follow the same directions to attach both of your bias tape or ribbon straps. Fold the dress in half, bringing together the back closure area, and sew from the hem at the bottom of the dress up to the back closure area where you've hemmed that. Here's another view so you get a feel for what I mean. Turn the dress right side out. Add a couple of sew-on snaps in the back. Now you may need a little help sewing snaps. I have yet another tutorial for that, so look in the description below for that tutorial. And now you're ready to try the dress on a doll, and it looks so lovely on these dolls. Just look at that. Try making the dress using different fabrics and different colors of felt for a whole new look. It can even be a wedding dress in all white. Now, if you'd like more variations on this dress pattern and you'd like to learn how to make variations, consider taking my pattern alteration class. What if there was an easy way to take a big doll pattern and resize it to fit a little doll, or vice versa? I'm Shelley Wood, the doll clothing designer, and in my pattern alteration class, I'm going to share with you my resizing formula. Pattern alteration is when you take a pattern that you already own and you make changes to it. Let's say a dress doesn't fit your doll quite right. I'll show you how to create a gusset to extend the dress's bodice. Along the same lines, I'll show you how to use a doll's body measurements to lengthen and shorten shirt sleeves, and to recreate the pants patterns you already own so they will fit dolls of different shapes and sizes. Following my instructions, you'll learn how to reshape dresses and skirts, making them fuller or less full depending on the look you're going for. With this collection of more than 40 videos, you'll use my measurement guide and dozens of tips and tricks to create a full wardrobe for the doll or dolls of your choice. I invite you to join me. We are going to have so much fun.